All right, my buddy Steven Ruiz is here. He's from The Ringer. He's a staff writer there. What's going on, buddy?
How's it going, man? Excited to talk quarterbacks.
Excited to talk with my old colleague who I've done a lot of podcasts with. I'm actually going on a Ringer podcast on Friday.
Oh, sick brag. With who?
Yeah. Ryan Russillo.
Oh, ever heard of him?
It's gonna be awesome. I love recording with him, and I'm it's like you get the text, it's like puts a pep in your step. You know, hey, I'm talking to Russillo on Friday. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be a good time. We're gonna bounce around, do a couple different things.
That's always fun.
We might go abroad. I don't even know. We might go abroad. We might not. So what we're gonna do? You do the quarterback rankings. And before I get to it, we're going to do biggest risers and fallers since the beginning of the season. And some will be a surprise, some won't. Before I get to it, what fan base is it the Niners that you consistently hear complaints from about the quarterback rankings? Or is it every fan base?
It used to be the Niners. There was three. There's three main ones. The Niners and Dolphins were 2023 was hell for me. Anytime I ran into one of them, it was hell.
Yeah.
With Tua and Brock. I don't hear from them as much anymore. And I think like even 49ers fans are starting to, question, especially with Mac Jones getting in there. It always happens with the Kyle Shanahan quarterback. But now, without a doubt, it's Philadelphia. I don't get recognized in public very often. I'm not you. I've been out in public with you, and you get recognized. I got recognized on the train like a couple months ago. I was with my wife on the train, and some guy like was looking at me, and I was like, "Oh God!" And then he approached me. He's like, "You're Steven Ruiz from The Ringer," and I was like, "Yes." And I was just thinking in the back of my head, "Please not Eagles. Please not Eagles. Please not Eagles." Yeah. He's like, "I'm a huge Eagles fan." And he was actually very, very nice. He took a picture with me. He didn't say anything mean to my wife, which is my bar for like a nice Eagles fan. But it was a pleasant interaction.
That's good. If you're an Eagles fan and you see Steven Ruiz on the train, be nice to him. Constructive.
That's all I ask. You can tell me that my Jalen Hurts ranking is terrible and I'm an idiot, but just be nice to my wife, actually. That's all I ask.
Eagles fans really, really, really care about Jalen Hurts' national perception.
Yeah.
They really care.
Yeah.
And I've talked about this
more than
before.
The Super Bowl, right? At this point.
I've made that joke, but I also think it just comes with the territory of it's a spiritual successor, and I've made this point before, spiritual successor to the Patriots fans and Brady was a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts. But if you said anything nice about any quarterback for a decade, if you were like, hey, I really love, if you're 2013, you're like, I love how Phillip Rivers is slinging the ball. There'd be 8 responses. Excuse me, Tom Brady is slinging it better. Did you forget about him? And you go, well, I didn't forget about him. This tweet was about Phillip Rivers. But it was literally that. And now I think the spiritual successor to that is if you say anything, if you say, man, I think Sam Darnold is exceeding expectations. You say, well, Sam Darnold, he's had the chance to outduel Jalen Hurts and he hasn't done it. That's what you'll get. I just feel like there's like the Alexander the Great, I think the whole thing, he wept because there were no more worlds to conquer. You win the Super Bowl. So the Eagles fans are looking for something to be mad at. And now it's, wait a second, Jalen Hurts is ranked 13th on somebody's first take rankings. I'm going to go at them.
Yeah. And I'm surprised you're using the Patriots fans in the past tense because they're still riding for Brady. Brady still has shooters in New England, by the way. If you tweet out something about Patrick Mahomes, they're going to go at you.
So I moved to a new town 3 years ago. And one of the guys who's in my dad group of friends, I golf with them sometimes, had to admit to me that many years ago, he sent one tweet in his entire life. And it was to me years before I knew him or that we even know we would ever be cross paths because I didn't rank Brady properly in something. And he got mad at me and sent his one and only tweet to me about that. And maybe he still is. Maybe that's still the thing. That was Mahomes for a while too, but I think now Mahomes is winning differently, so the Chiefs fans aren't as agitated.
No, not at all. Chiefs fans have always been pleasant to me, and I not famously because I don't think anyone knew who I was back then, but I gave their draft pick of Mahomes a C-. Which was, by the way, bad take, one of the worst takes of all time. But They used to really hate me, but now they've come around because I came around. It's
I
very
I
instructive.
feel bad. Some of my pre-draft stuff, especially when I I understand the draft a lot more than I did 10 years ago. But I will say 8 years ago, 7 years ago, I flipped on Josh Allen in the middle of the draft process, and I but I have so much bad tape out there, so to speak, on Josh Allen that I'm gonna eat it. My thing is, I think I said it on Russillo. I was like, I so don't see it with Josh Allen, but he's such a highly touted prospect that I believe I'm missing something. It's like the evidence, absence of
Yeah.
evidence of absence or whatever, right? Like I'm just like I don't get it. I'm just something is happening here and I don't see it. It's supernatural. So I'm now trusting that he's an NFL, like a real deal NFL prospect. So anyway,
You
I
should drop that
got
take on
Bills.
Russillo on Friday. Just be like, you know who I
Bills
like?
fans,
Just Josh Allen
Bills,
guy.
Josh Allen. No, but Bills fans have cropped some of the previous takes. I didn't give him a C
Mm.
plus, but still. Anyway, all right. Let's do biggest risers and fallers. We'll alternate. Your biggest riser, number one biggest riser since week one. We are now a quarter of the season in. What do you got, Steven Ruiz?
Now, do you want me to give you like technically who's risen the most or spiritually who's risen the most in my heart?
Spiritually.
Okay, good. Because
We can do both.
my other answer is embarrassing, and I don't want to talk. It's Spencer
Wait,
Rattler,
who?
and we don't need
Oh
to. We
yeah,
don't need to talk
no.
about
Whoa,
Spencer.
whoa. We are not doing Spencer Rattler on this.
Okay, I had that instinct coming in. That's why we're friends. Okay, I knew you didn't want to do 10 minutes on. You didn't text me and go, "You got 10 minutes on Spencer Rattler."
Spencer Rattler. Can you give me 10 minutes on Spencer Rattler?
on his marginal but impressive and subtle improvement this year. No,
Wait,
I knew
hang
you
on.
didn't want that.
I don't want to do 10 minutes. But where is he, like 30, 20? I'm looking. You just updated it this week.
Yeah,
Where is he?
he's 24th. You're looking too low,
Oh,
buddy.
there he is. He's ahead of Russell Wilson. He's ahead of Russell Wilson, Carson Wentz, Bo Nix, Justin Fields, Bryce Young, Michael Penix, Joe Flacco, Cam Ward. JJ McCarthy's 33rd. Jackson Dart's 34. I'm just telling you, if you don't upgrade Jackson Dart soon, you're going to hear it. Because the Giants fans are deeply in love with him.
They're fans. They're beat. They're writing fanfic. They're writing
So
Dayball.
both two Giants beat writers had like a really aggressive tweet recounting Daboll and Jackson Dart's hug in the hallway. I don't really know what it was, but we're gonna leave it right there. The Giants beats really into Jackson Dart. Your biggest spiritualizer is who?
I'm gonna go with Drake Maye. Who went from, for me, like, oh, this is interesting. Maybe he's a fringe top 20 quarterback if you squint your eyes before the season. To I'm not sure that he isn't a top 10 quarterback today, like right now. Like when you watch this, and I know the numbers don't, and like when I say the numbers, I mean like the all the numbers for the offense don't reflect that they have like this juggernaut of an offense. But when you just look at his numbers and the things that he can control and what he's overcoming, like the lack of a run game, he's putting up top 5 numbers in a situation where we're like, last year at this time when they were thinking about starting him, we were like, is it safe? Is it safe to start him? Will it ruin his career? And he was just fine. But now I think he's elevated that offense where I think they can compete with anyone as long as their defense kind of keeps them in the game.
So a couple of things. Number one, that was one of the most sneaky, funny storylines this time last year. It was like, well, the quarterback for the Patriots is going to get killed, so let's put Jacoby Brissett out there. Like, could you imagine Jacoby Brissett just driving, listening to a podcast, and somebody's like, let him get unbelievably injured for a month for whatever it is, $6 million or whatever, and then he can never play again after that. That would be really good. Then he played, and the weird thing to me, Steven, not weird thing because I understand it, but I remember I put Drake Maye on a tier higher than Caleb Williams, and a couple other people did that, and I was on a couple shows where we talked about that. And I had a lot of Bears fans saying there was no functional difference between Caleb Williams and Drake Maye. They were both in bad situations, and they both had flashes, but looked inconsistent. What I'd say to that, looking back on it now, is the Bears situation last year was a lot better than the Patriots situation. So much so that like the Patriots situation made the Bears situation look like the 85 Bears. Okay. Like the Patriots had the worst offensive. The Bears had the second worst offensive line. The 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 Bears offensive line was a lot better than the Patriots. The Patriots line was awful. They had no skill guys, whereas the Bears had 2.5. They had whatever happened to Keenan Allen this year had not happened last year. And I just feel like Drake Maye played a little better than Caleb Williams in a hopeless situation. And that gave me hope going forward. And it's frankly, I don't want to do this because I do it every episode, but it's what I want to see from Cam Ward. Like they're going to win 2 games. But what I want to see is like 5 throws a game where I'm like, all right, good stuff. Here we go. When they professionalize the operation next year, it's going to look a little better. So I'm with you. I think the world of Drake Maye, and I think that just giving him competence around him has gotten him 90% of the way there.
Yeah, and I think with Drake Maye, it's his highlights, especially even last year, even if ignoring this year and what he's doing this year, his highlights last year were like varied. Like he would do a highlight, like it would be pocket movement and like he'd get to his third read and hit a backside dig or whatever, or he'd get outside the pocket and throw like a crazy pass on the run, or he'd run and like maybe like juke a defender. With Caleb last year, and I love Caleb, by the way, like I think the world of Caleb, but all of his highlights look the same. You know, like every highlight was like him circling outside of the pocket and like just throwing a dart on the run. And I think that was the difference. Maye was a guy who was like doing well in spite of what was around him. And Caleb was more of a guy who was taking advantage of the few strong things around him every once in a while. When he did that, you were like, whoa, look at that. That's what it's supposed to look like. But I think you saw more with Maye. You might have had to peek a little, harder to find it.
It's time for This Is Betting presented by ESPN Bet. Use code Clark to bet $10 to win $100. Easy. It's my last name. Clark. Great last name. All right, 2 picks for you. Number 1, NFL. Vikings, Browns. Vikings favored by 3.5 here. I love the Vikings. I just, Brian Flores against Dylan Gabriel, who I have not thought highly of as a prospect, to say the least. And then you put him in his first start in Europe against a guy who plays head games with veteran quarterbacks in Brian Flores. 3rd highest blitz percentage in the entire league. They crowd the line of scrimmage with 5-man fronts. This is going to be a nightmare for Dylan Gabriel. I understand the impulse to say, well, the Vikings offensive line, Carson Wentz is playing. I do not care. I don't care. Because, first of all, the Vikings are generating points on defense. They're going to be able to do that against Dylan Gabriel. And the only times the Browns have had success this year, I know they have a really good defense, but against the Packers, for instance, that was just an implosion, a self-inflicted implosion. Packers should have gotten out of that one with a win easily. Vikings, to me, take care of business. Flores has Dylan Gabriel in hell, and they win by more than 3.5. Best pass defense in football by far this year. Nobody's even close on an EPA per play basis. Take the Vikings. All right, next one. This might surprise you guys because the program seems to be going in a completely awful, dismal, bleak direction. I like the Gators at the Swamp. Texas Longhorns. Gators are 6.5-point underdogs. Now, I'm probably not going to take the Gators money line here, but what I am going to do is tell you that the Gators have a top 25 scoring defense with a really hard schedule. Plus, they've had a few backups. They do have a couple more injuries, but they're getting guys back. Dallas Wilson, the true freshman receiver who set the world on fire in the spring game, is finally, it sounds like, going to make his debut in this one. And then I'm looking at both of these offenses and I'm thinking, man, I don't think that either team, especially I don't think the Texas Longhorns can run away and hide in this game. I don't. I think the Gators defense is too good. The defensive backs are too good. They're able to stop the rush. I do think Texas will be able to whip them up front, kind of like Miami did the other week, kind of like LSU did. But I'm looking at this LSU game, and I'm saying DJ Lagway had 5 interceptions. They were still in it for most of the game. I'm looking at this Miami game, and I'm saying Miami manhandled Florida up front, and they were still able to be down 6 midway through the fourth quarter until Miami started to pour it on because it just wore them down. I think Texas at the Swamp, which, Swamp, for all of the dismal, bleak things that are going on with the program, the Swamp can still get very loud. I think this Florida defense can be a problem for this Texas offense. I don't see more than a score being the deciding factor here. Give me the Gators. All right. That's it. Promo code Clark, bet $10 to win $100. That was This Is Betting, presented by ESPN Bet. All right, number 1 faller since week 1.
This one's gonna hurt my soul. I'm gonna go with Geno Smith. I mean, Geno. I'm speaking to Geno directly now. I'm assuming Geno watches the show.
The South Florida guy.
Yeah, of course he does. You're embarrassing me in front of my friends. Like, what is this? And like, the problem with Geno is he played his worst game ever. Like, even going back to the Jets days on that Monday night game against the Chargers, which is the only game that anyone's ever going to watch with the Raiders, like a national audience. He was fine the 2 weeks around that, but then last week, another stinker. And it's getting harder to defend his spot. I had him in the top 10. And like, at this point, it's getting hard for me to defend putting him in the top 15, because what we've seen go away this year is the accuracy, which was his thing the last 2 years. Like, I think he led the NFL in CPOE last year, but then like the decision making, which was always like kind of iffy. He was on that like Stafford Dak plane where like, oh, I could do this, so I'm going to try to get away with it. Now he's not getting away with it. And I think he leads the NFL in interceptions. So until that fixes itself, the accuracy, the decision making, going to have to keep Geno outside of the top 10, which again hurts my soul.
Yeah, he just doesn't seem to be reading the field very well right now, and he's playing uncharacteristic ball. The interceptions were bad. Kevin Byard this might be on Chip Kelly. Kevin Byard seemed to know the plays. Like there was some real bad. Like, the defense seemed to just be sitting on what the Raiders were trying to do. I don't know, man. That was bad. Yeah, I expected a lot better. I'm disappointed, but spiritually, the Raiders are probably going to be the 4th best team in the AFC West, no matter what happened. They could, but the difference is it a 4-win team or an 8-win team?
And the offense was supposed to be fun. I was promised a fun offense. I didn't have like delusions of grandeur about what this team could be. Like, the defense, if you looked at the depth chart, if you had any optimism, just look at the depth chart before the season and win away instantly. But like, with Chip coming back, and Chip was supposed to be different this time around. They had Janty, who finally had a good game. But I feel like we always do this. And you could go back to Caleb last year, the discussion before or after the draft. Like, we always discount the offensive line. We always think about offenses in that like Bleacher Report style graphic, like who's stopping this offense? And the answer is always the offensive line.
Line. Well, also the who's stopping this offense, it's always like guys from 6 years ago. It's always like Julio Jones is in it for some reason. You're like, what? Hang on.
I remember seeing one for the Carson Wentz Colts. Yeah. I remember that one. That's the most offensive one.
I'll say this. I don't think many social media managers watch the games. There's a lot of indications on that one. Got some, it is what it is. All right. Your number 2 riser.
My number 2 riser, I'm going to go with the guy who replaced Geno. I'm going to go with Sam Darnold, who...
Yes.
I feel like I have to take a little bit of an L here, because I was very skeptical of the offensive setup, especially with Darnold. I was thinking about the offensive line and what that would do to his game. And the offensive line hasn't been a problem. And I also have to put some respect on Clint Kubiak's name, because I was very skeptical of him. And I think he's cultivated an environment that allows that brings the best out of Sam, is how I'll say it. Like, even more so than what we saw out of Kevin O'Connell last year, who has been anointed as the quarterback whisperer in the NFL. Like, things last year were difficult for Sam Darnold. They weren't like getting under center and running play action, like what you usually think of with like these system quarterbacks. They were like, no, Sam, you're getting in the gun. We're sending 5 out into the route, and you're going to get pressure, and you're going to have to figure it out on your own. This year, it's none of that. Like, his hand, I don't want to say his hand's being held, but he's being protected by the scheme, by the play action, the heavy use of play action, the under center formation. So he's not in that environment he was last year, and we're just seeing the best of him through the first month of the season.
Pleasantly surprised by Sam Darnold. Pleasantly surprised by everything that's going on in Seattle. I thought it was, again, ties into the Geno thing. I thought it was a downgrade. I was totally wrong. And I also think it speaks to the fact, if Kevin O'Connell, I was thinking about this the other day, Kevin O'Connell's obsessed with the quarterback journey and like rehabilitating these guys. And it actually speaks to how good a coach he is if the Sam Darnold thing is actually permanent, right? Like, what if
Yeah.
Kevin O'Connell actually like? There's a difference. Is it kind of a teach a man to fish thing? Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
All right. So yeah. Give a guy a fish, he eats for a day. Teach a man to fish, he eats for a lifetime, right? If Kevin O'Connell is teaching quarterbacks how to play football, that is hugely valuable. But it also speaks to maybe, and again, where did you come down on this? I would thought that bringing in JJ McCarthy as the starter was totally fine. I thought they were going to be able to scheme up stuff in the middle of the field. I thought that was all going to work out. Where did you fall on that?
Yeah, I thought it would be fine before the season, but it was contingent on the running game being decent, and it hasn't been decent so far. But I don't even know, like, based on what we've seen so far, even if they had a decent run game, I think it would look like Carson Wentz has looked, which is like fine, but not great.
Yeah, the offensive line's been banged up. All right, your number 2 faller.
I'm gonna go with Bryce Young. He's dropped 7 spots, or no, he's dropped 5 spots since the beginning, and I was hesitant to kind of be like, oh, Bryce Young is back and the Panthers have a franchise quarterback, but I did not think it would revert back into this where every week I'm watching the Panthers, I'm wondering, can this guy even play in the NFL? Like, does he belong in the NFL? And through no fault of his own, it's because he's so small. And like, it's not that he's small, it's that he looks small on so many different occasions. Like, NFL defenses make him look smaller than I think he actually is. Because he's like, what is he, like 5'11", 5'10"? We have shorter quarterbacks in the NFL. Like, Kyler Murray doesn't look small as often as Bryce Young looks. And I think viability is a question with him. And I don't think I have that question with anybody else in the NFL right now.
I want to say this. Are you going to talk about Michael Penix next?
No, because I wasn't that high on him, but we can talk about
Michael
Penix.
Let's talk about him for a second. You have Bryce Young ahead of Michael Penix. And I don't know. I feel like Michael Penix's highs have been higher, and they've both had their bad moments. You say that your justification is Bryce Young is an undersized quarterback who makes some big time throws. The grade is a little bit higher. What have you seen from Michael Penix this year that has him 30th best instead of, I don't know, I would have guessed high 20s?
Yeah, I think I'm overcorrecting for how much I've been burned by believing in inaccurate quarterbacks. Like, I've come full circle where I'm like, if you can't complete a pass reliably, like, I don't know how you can put an offense around that quarterback. I don't know how you can build a great offense, even if you put him in a good offense. And that's the thing with Penix. It's not that he's inaccurate, because he is inaccurate if you watch him, but it's the lack of touch, which is, I think, is another complaint you can have for JJ McCarthy, where if there's a guy in between him and his receiver, he's not going to be able to make that throw over him or around him. He's got to go through him. And he's been trying to throw it through him. Unfortunately, those guys are allowed to catch the football and intercept it, and that's been a problem for him early on. So, like, for me, it's just like, until he starts completing passes reliably, I can't have him any higher. And I think Bryce Young will give you that if you give him like a wide open window to the throw. But he can also layer the ball over. It's really the only thing he can do at this point.
Yeah. All right, your last riser.
My last riser, I'm going to go with we talked about Caleb. So let's talk about Daniel Jones. Like,
yes,
last week notwithstanding how things ended, when he tried to throw the same interception twice and finally got burned at the end. When I watched him,
the Will Levis, they're just trying to throw the same pick until they finally catch it.
Yes, he did that against the Rams, but beyond that, like, the guy is making some throws, and I've always been a Daniel Jones is fine guy. Like, I never thought he was as bad as people thought he was before the draft. Like, people were like, oh, Will Greer's a better prospect than him, and Will Greer might be the worst quarterback I've ever seen play in the NFL.
Is he like on the Cowboys? He's on a roster, right?
He was on the Cowboys. I don't think he is anymore, but he has one of the funniest stat lines. If you go on to Pro Football Reference, I think he has like a negative.
He is 1,000,000% on the Dallas Cowboys.
That's unfortunate. Jerry's washed. Yeah. Jerry's washed.
That was their corresponding move when they traded Micah Parsons. They were like, well, it doesn't matter. We're getting Will Greer. We're all good. No, they signed him. They signed him last November, promoted to the active roster in January, and he's bounced between the active roster and the practice squad. Let's go.
Good for him. It's honestly a pretty good outcome based on how his career started. I forgot what I was talking about. I've just been derailed by Will Greer
You were
thoughts.
talking about. You were
Oh, Daniel
talking
Jones.
about. Also, do you know that Will Greer was popped for PEDs in college, which is really funny.
I do remember that.
Like what?
He started at Florida,
What are
right?
we
And
doing? Yeah, and then went to West Virginia. What are we doing with PEDs? Well, like how
they
bad
should
would he be
allow him to
without the
take more.
PEDs?
That's what I'm saying. Allow him to take more. It should be fine. He should get suspended because he wasn't good. I remember Jimmy G got popped for PEDs, and it's like, I mean, the guy that sold you those should be investigated. But back to Daniel Jones. But the guy's making real throws, and he's gotten back to where he was before the neck injury, which was my concern and why I had him ranked so low. But it just goes to show that, like, if you have two skills that you can build an offense around, like, usually these coaches in the NFL are smart enough to do it. And for Daniel Jones, it's I can run the football reliably. Like, I'm pretty fast compared to average quarterbacks. And then the other one is he's like the Johnny Knoxville of NFL quarterbacks. Like, I will stand in this pocket and I will take the biggest hit that you can give me if it means I could throw the ball 25 yards downfield and hit someone in stride. And I do think he throws a pretty good deep ball. That went away the last couple of years after the neck injury, but it's returned. And he's also like carried over the lessons that he learned from Jason Garrett, where he's like, I'm not turning the football over like I used to. The last game notwithstanding. I have to say that again.
Yeah. All right. Last faller.
Let's go with Kyler Murray. I'm done with Kyler Murray again. I think I was done.
It's over?
Last time I was podcasting with you, I think I gave up on him. I was like, no more sub 6 foot quarterbacks. I'm done with this. And then somewhere along the line, Kyler won me back. He won me back. I don't know. He started standing in the pocket a little taller. He started throwing over the middle a little bit more, which is what you want to see out of a short quarterback. But this year you watch him and like, there's still some great plays, some great throws out of structure and all that. But every 5 plays, there's just inexplicable miss, or there's a guy running wide open over the middle of the field and he just doesn't throw it for some reason. And at a certain point, you just have to realize this is who this guy is, and he's never going to take the next step. And he's been in the league for 6 years now. So I feel confident in being like, probably not happening. Like, get him to like Miami with Mike McDaniel, although I don't know how long.
I know. I actually think it's probably more likely that Mike McDaniel would come to Arizona.
That's a good point.
I do want to say, by the way, that Kyler Murray's in his 7th year.
He feels like a 4th-year quarterback, doesn't he? And that's
the problem. Well. I mean, the issue is that he came in pretty good and then stayed pretty good.
Yeah,
it's just nothing happened. He hit his ceiling early. So let's get Mike McDaniel to Arizona. Mike McDaniel not only is going to be the best OC next year, he's going to be a head coach again.
I 100% believe that. I watch these games and he's still scheming his ass off. I'm sorry, but like the players aren't as good as they used to.
So my thing about McDaniel is this whole thing should have worked. They got really. I think there's been some rewriting of history of the 2023 team. The issue was everybody's like, oh, they're not tough. They can't win a big game. They can't win a game in December. They had an awesome front 7, and everybody got hurt. Like everybody got hurt.
Yeah.
And then they're supposed to go to Kansas City and win a road game against the absolute buzzsaw with nobody on defense. Like no, like they got really unlucky, and we underrate luck sometimes in all of this and in all of this.
Yeah, I believe that to a certain extent, but they would have lost in the wild card round that year anyway. Let's be honest. Okay. Let's be honest. They weren't winning a playoff game. They're not winning a playoff game with Tua in January. I just like that's my dumb guy take on him. Usually I try to like take a more nuanced approach to analysis, but like sometimes it's an Occam's razor thing, like the simplest explanation is the best one. And he can't play in the cold, and we've seen it.
I know. It upsets me the Dolphins are just not a better franchise.
No, yeah, because they were fun when they were scoring 70 points. It was fun to watch them. Now it's depressing to watch them. Did you have any inkling to watch that Monday night game? Like, if it wasn't your job, I
watched all of it. I actually kind of enjoyed it. I don't know why.
Sick, man.
Maybe because I hate the uniforms. I think the Dolphins are a compelling team. I also think the Jets rebuild to me is compelling. We had Greeny on the show this week, and he was saying like it's not. Everybody keeps acting like it's a normal rebuild. They've got talent, and 2 years ago, Aaron Rodgers is like, this is the team I want to take to a Super Bowl, and they still have like a lot of those players. And I think that's a pretty good way to put it. The Jets probably should be better, and the Dolphins definitely should be better. It's just I don't know. Unfortunately, the franchise needs a hard reset. It should have worked, and it didn't. Oops.
No, yeah. I think that the thing we overlook is that it's hard to win in the NFL, and like only like 4 teams are good all the time. And the fact that the Dolphins won 10 games 2 years in a row is kind of like that's not a failure on Mike McDaniel's part.
They need a better GM.
100%. One that wouldn't have
And
drafted to over Justin Herbert. Although I
do you
probably
know?
would have
Do
done
you
it
know
at the
what
time.
should have worked? Do you know what? Speaking of should have worked, I think most all the time, Bill Parcells as a GM should have worked, but I don't think he worked very hard at it, and then he just left as soon as the team got sold. He would have actually been awesome if he had stayed with it.
Yeah.
Because he was
he was
really
good in that first year, right?
Yeah, they won the division, but he was really good. Like Jeff Ireland was Jeff Ireland was the GM, and he just never hit on a mid-round pick. That was his thing. Like he was just awful second-round picks over and over again. And then he went to New Orleans, and he couldn't stop making good draft picks. As like he's also never. He was like the fake GM for Bill Parcells. Now he's the fake GM for Mickey Loomis. He just has never not just existed in the shadows.
That's such a great job. I wish I could do
It's
quarterback
so
rankings in
good.
the shadows.
It's so good. So there's I'm gonna be careful here. There's a couple of people I know or kind of know of who so now, and this is not an NFL thing because the NFL doesn't have this. But like, you know how there's like conglomerations of teams now where it's like NBA, guess some guy owns an NBA team and a soccer
Yeah.
team and a whatever. I think within that structure, there's a lot of people secretly running teams, and you wouldn't expect it, and those guys get no heat at all. Nobody even knows they run the team, but they do, and they're like the GM. And I reason I say this is like a couple of months ago, I asked a friend of mine what a sports executive does because I hadn't heard his name in a while, and they're like, "Oh, he's secretly running a European soccer team, like a team you've heard of." And I was like, "Oh, okay." That's cool. By the way, not a soccer executive, this person. Not a soccer, just a guy who knows billionaires, and all of a sudden he's secretly running. And so what I'm saying is Jeff Ireland is that, but just for teams, for NFL teams. And we know who he is, and he gives press conferences.
I mean, that's a pretty good job for him. I would trade it for anything in the world, honestly. He could take my job if he wants it.
Steven Ruiz, what are you working on this week, bud?
I'm writing about contenders and pretenders. I'm ranking quarterbacks. We're actually working on a new video show, which should be coming in the next couple weeks. So look out for that. Yeah,
slow news day 2. Hey, who's your biggest pretender?
Oh, good question. Off the top of my head, I'm gonna go with. Caught me off guard here. Now I'm forgetting my voice.
Sounds like a banger column, Steven.
I just want to give you the best one. I'm just gonna say the 49. No, the Bucks. The Bucks. That's my team. That's the team I was searching for.
Pretender?
The Buccaneers. Through 3 games, like people were saying wild things about the Bucks and Baker Mayfield. Was anybody watching these games? They needed a comeback, a furious comeback to beat the Falcons, and Baker Mayfield led the NFL in turnover-worthy plays and had no turnovers.
They were like the first team in history to win 3 games on the last play of the game.
Yeah, that's not a good stat. Also, like that's what we like. It's a fun stat, but it's not a good one.
I completely agree. I'm sorry. I disagree on the Bucks. I think the Bucks are going to win the division. I agree with you that it's a bad stat.
It makes you a contender and not a pretender to win the NFC South. Are you familiar with the history of this division?
Buddy, the Bucks are good and they have talent. They're banged up, dude. They have an injury ward in their offensive line. They got lost Tristan Wirfs. They're signing guys off the street to play offensive line. It's called adversity.
It doesn't matter.
Oh my God. You are so dismissive of injuries.
No, I'm not. I think
the Dolphins injuries, don't matter from 2 years ago, and now the Bucks don't matter. The Chiefs, Tristan Wirfs being out doesn't matter.
That matters. Tristan Wirfs being out matters. The other linemen aren't coming back. Mike Evans was injured for like 5 minutes before the Eagles game. Like he missed the last 5 minutes, and they needed another comeback against the Jets. The Falcons.
Can I tell you something? I was thinking about this the other day. Mike Evans, it feels like he has like a hamstring or something every single year. And everybody around the organization is always like prayers up for Mike Evans. And then he's back like 10 days later, every single time.
He's an amazing
player. Mandela affected this? He's constantly getting these injuries. I think that he just means so much to the city that like anytime there's any, and he's older, so anytime there's any injury, it becomes like a potential like a potential like catastrophic event. But instead, he just comes back because he's tough as nails.
And anytime a big guy goes down, like a bigger guy,
Yeah.
it kind of feels it's like, oh, that guy's really hurt. He wouldn't have left the game if he wasn't hurt. He's huge. You know,
Yeah.
it's one of those.
All right. Talk to you, buddy.
Later, man.